Do you know how people think before making decisions? Daniel Kahneman, who won the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2002, pointed out in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow, that there are two systems of thinking operating in the human brain, fast and slow. Let's explore how they differ and what common thinking errors we tend to make. System 1 is fast, automatic, and intuitive. It works almost instantly without effort, like recognizing a familiar face, dodging a flying object, or reading someone's facial expression. While convenient, this system is prone to errors because it relies on impressions and emotions. In contrast, System 2 is slow, deliberate, logical, and requires focus. It's what you use when solving a tough math problem, planning your finances, or analyzing a complex situation. However, System 2 is lazy. It consumes more energy and time, so it's often bypassed. As a result, we tend to rely too much on System 1, which leads to cognitive biases and faulty decisions. Understanding the difference between the two systems is key to sharper thinking and fewer mistakes in life. So what cognitive biases emerge from fast thinking? A classic example is the anchoring effect. When exposed to an initial number, even if irrelevant, our judgments get skewed. For example, if asked whether a phone priced at $1,500 is cheap or expensive, your answer will differ depending on whether someone first said the original price was $2,000 or it's only $1,000. That first number anchors your perception. Another is the availability bias, where things that are easy to recall, because they're shocking or heavily reported, make us misjudge their actual likelihood. Airplane crashes are rare, but constant media coverage makes people think flying is very dangerous. A subtler bias is substitution. When faced with a difficult question, the brain unknowingly replaces it with an easier one. For instance, when asked, "Would she make a good prime minister?" you might unconsciously answer, "Do I like her?" and use that to decide. Finally, there's loss aversion. Losing $100 hurts more than the joy of gaining $100. That's why people often choose safety over risk, even when the potential gain is greater. These biases quietly shape our daily behavior. Only by recognizing them can we think more accurately. One of the most profound insights in thinking fast and slow is that people are often overconfident in their judgment, a phenomenon called overconfidence. Even when data or reality contradicts us, we still believe we're right and fully understand the situation. Kahneman calls this the illusion of understanding. We tend to craft tidy explanations for past events and convince ourselves we understand why things happened. In truth, the world is far more complex and random than we think. But the brain, especially System 1, doesn't handle uncertainty well, so it creates a sense of certainty to make us feel more comfortable. The result? We misjudge situations, make reckless decisions, and overlook unpredictable factors. For example, many investors believe they can read the market through charts or personal experience. But stock price movements are largely random and influenced by countless uncontrollable factors. Yet, they still think they know why prices rise or fall, when in reality, much of it is just rationalization after the fact. Based on these two systems of thinking, Kahneman and Amos Tversky developed prospect theory, one of the most influential contributions to behavioral economics. This theory states that humans don't make decisions purely rationally. Instead, we assess outcomes based on perceived gains and losses relative to a personal reference point, not absolute value. For example, if you receive $10, you'd likely feel happy. But if the person next to you gets $50, you might feel disappointed, as if you lost $40, even though you didn't actually lose anything. This explains why people fear losses more than they desire gains, and often make irrational decisions when facing risk. Another powerful idea in the book is the separation between two selves, the experiencing self and the remembering self. The experiencing self lives in the present, sensing each moment and emotion in real time. Meanwhile, the remembering self is the one that looks back and tells the story afterward. The problem is, these two selves often conflict. You may have had a great vacation, relaxing and full of pleasant moments. But if something bad happens at the end, like losing luggage or an argument, your remembering self may focus only on that and label the entire trip as not enjoyable. In life, we usually make future decisions based on what the remembering self tells us, even if it doesn't fully reflect what we actually experienced. Once you grasp these concepts, think about how they apply in real-world fields like finance, healthcare, law, marketing, education, and management. Understanding how people truly think, with all their biases and blind spots, helps us design better systems and improve decision-making environments. In finance, recognizing loss aversion explains why investors often sell during downturns, even if that's a bad move. In healthcare, doctors need to watch for confirmation bias, the tendency to seek only information that supports their initial diagnosis. In marketing, businesses can tailor messages not just to logic, but to how consumers emotionally react. Understanding human psychology is the key to smarter decisions and more effective policy design.